You are tuned into the DNVR Rockies Podcast, brought to you by Bet365. Use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it is never ordinary with Bet365. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I don't know if it's as happy as I would want it to be, because the Colorado Rockies have officially been eliminated from the 2024 playoff race. And this feels to me like Bo Nix being named the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos, in the sense that it's not a surprise, right? Like, we all knew that this was coming. No one was surprised by this. But I couldn't help but feel last night like a little bummed out. And I was trying to figure out why I was feeling so down when we all knew this was coming. I've said it every single time I've talked on this podcast. You know, the Rockies aren't going to be a playoff team this year. But I think what kind of caused me to realize why I was feeling that way was this comparison that I wanted to make about relationships. You know, when you're in a relationship and things are getting a little dicey, things are getting a little bumpy, and you know the writing's kind of on the wall. You know that the relationship isn't going to last much longer, and both of you know it, but you're kind of also not in a place where you want to fully face the facts yet. You don't want to face that writing yet. And so you just kind of keep living in this limbo where no one's really like facing that reality yet. And, you know, you get a couple good moments here or there, and you're kind of living for those moments, but you still know the relationship isn't going to work out in the end. And then all of a sudden, one morning, you wake up, you roll over, you check your phone thinking it's just going to be a normal Wednesday or a normal Tuesday, and you get this text that says, "Hey, we need to talk." And you know exactly what that means. And so you go drive out to your local coffee shop and you meet up with your partner, and they say what you've known for months but have been too afraid to actually talk about it officially. They say, "We're done." And even though you knew it was coming, even though you knew that that was on its way and that that was probably the right thing to do because you felt the same way, it still stings a little bit, right? Like, you still go home from that feeling kind of gross about yourself. And that's how I feel like the official news of the Rockies getting eliminated yesterday feels to me, was that, look, we all knew it was coming, but it doesn't help to see it. Doesn't help to say it. And I was kind of doom scrolling through my old Twitter feeds and looking through some old clips. And I came across this clip from a local radio station in Seattle, where I grew up. And this was a couple years ago. So I want to preface that this isn't recent, but this was a couple years ago. And it was regarding the Seattle Mariners. But I think when I was listening to it, I think there's a lot of overlap that I think Rockies fans can take away from this. And I think there was a lot of comparisons that we can make emotionally from the reaction that this fan had to the Seattle Mariners team a handful of years back. So I saved the clip. I sent it to Kale. Kale, let's bring up and play this clip. And I want you to listen and see if you can hear some of these comparisons from a Rockies fan standpoint.
Let's go to Mark in Maple Valley.
Hey, this isn't going to be popular, but I'm going to speak the truth. The problem with the Mariners is the fans. Here's why. John Stanton dangles fireworks and bobbleheads in front of their faces and runs the team like it's the Oakland Athletics instead of one of the most profitable teams in Major League Baseball, and tells you to your face they're going to challenge for a World Series, and throws out a lineup that has Caballero, Sam Haggerty, Dylan Moore, and Mike Ford at the bottom of the order, a bunch of scrap-heap guys, and tells you that we're challenging for a World Series. And yet we come out in droves because we get to go with our families on a sunny day and watch fireworks and bobbleheads and draw over 3 million people a year. And this guy's sitting there with a cigar thinking we're the biggest idiots in the world. If we were in Philly or New York, this wouldn't even be acceptable. But we do it every year. And then we go, oh, we got to love these guys because they almost made it to the playoffs. Are you out of your mind? It's unacceptable. But you have 3 million people coming summer here. It's a joke. And until someone holds this guy accountable, until Siri DePoto to take his analytics nerd and get the hell out of Seattle and get a guy who can hit 40 bombs that plays first base or right field or left field, maybe we'll make the playoffs. Thank you.
Let's go to Mark.
That's a rant if I've ever heard one before. And look, the tone is different, obviously, that I feel than Mark in Maple Valley felt a couple years back. But if you listen to what he's saying, I do feel like there is some overlap because, I take the part where he said, the management says they're going to be a World Series team. Obviously, Rockies front office isn't saying they're going to be a World Series team, but they've been refusing to admit that we are rebuilding. They always say reconstructing. And that rubs me the wrong way because to me, that's just kind of trying to say that there's a chance we're going to be better than we actually are instead of embracing where we are in our rebuild is what it is as a Rockies franchise and committing to that rebuild over the next couple years. And I think there's been bits and pieces of that, but I still feel like we've shied away from that. And then, like he said, you fill a lineup with no disrespect to some of these players, but some of the players that, insert names here in this Rockies organization that just don't fit where we are as a team and the success that we're trying to sell as a Rockies franchise. That's frustrating to me. And I'm not blaming the fans either for showing up in droves for fireworks night and Todd Helton bobblehead night. I'm right there with you. And we are not Philadelphia. We are not New York. So I understand that we're not going to hold, the feet to the fire in the same way that fan base and those fan bases are. But I just think it's important for us to recognize that the reality of where we are is incredibly frustrating. And I was talking to our friend of the pod and Blake Street Banner super intern, Noah Spyrick, yesterday. And I think the frustrating part is we both were agreeing that we felt like, even though we knew the Rockies weren't going to go into this 2024 season being a playoff team, we felt like they were going to be better. Maybe they were going to not lose 100 games. Maybe they were even going to hit 500, hit that 500 mark this season. Look, you're in the NL West. That's the toughest division in baseball. So none of us expected them to be dethroning the Dodgers. But you figured maybe they were going to be better than 500. Maybe they were going to improve on where we were last year. But the unfortunate reality of the situation is that this is going to be the 6th straight season that the Rockies have finished with a .460 winning percentage or worse. The last team to have done that, to have had 6+ such seasons under the same manager, we'll add, was the Athletics in 1934 to 1943 under Connie Mack. They went 10 consecutive years of sub .460 winning percentage. And I'm not blaming Bud Black either. That's a conversation we've had in different contexts. Because again, what do you do when your lineup is XYZ? But it's unfortunate because I think there is such a hype around baseball in a city like Denver. And I feel bad for the fans because they have to, year after year, kind of get the same old thing with no real improvement. And if you as a front office are not going to, if you as a front office, the Rockies front office, if you're not going to admit that you're rebuilding, then to me, that means you need to be getting better every year. If you admit to me you're rebuilding, not reconstructing, rebuilding, starting from scratch, then fine, you can be the White Sox and just suck. And we'll still show up to games because we love Coors Field. But if you're not going to say that, I need you to be getting better year over year. That's where I kind of get frustrated with this. So The Rockies must win more than blank games. No, this is Noah in the Toyota chat. The Rockies must win more than blank games in 2025, or else the season is a failure. You said 25 or 75, 25. You said 75, Noah. I'm inclined to agree with you there. I'm going to go as far as to say, I think if you're not touching 500, if you're not bumping up against a 500 next year, given that you're expected to be a postseason team the year after that, if you're not bumping up against a 500 season next year, that to me is a losing season. I don't need you competing for a playoff next year, but you've got some very competitive young talent that you're starting to roll out this year, last year, and hopefully next year. I think if we're not fighting for a 500 season next year and close to it, that's a loss to me. Because again, you're not going to compete with the Dodgers or the Padres. I mean, hey, can we acknowledge the fact that the Padres are about to get two of their best weapons that have been out all season long back? I mean, they're going to be a team that's not going away anytime soon. The Dodgers too. So you're competing with guys like that, with teams like that. Next year, to me, has to be a significant step up, because 2026 is the year that they say this is it. This is when we're going to be bringing Rocktober back to Denver. It's not happening this year, folks. It's a bit of a bummer. Not a surprise, but there was a meme that I posted a few days ago that said disappointed but not surprised. That's my vibe for today. Let's talk about the Braves game one. The Rockies went on the road to take on the Braves. They're starting this road stretch where they are going to be gone for 11 days. They've got 9 road games in 11 days. They have the second hardest, I don't know, what is it? Schedule? That's what we'll say. Second hardest schedule to finish out the season in all of Major League Baseball. The first hardest schedule is the Giants, our interdivision foe, the San Francisco Giants. But from a wins and losses standpoint, the Rockies have some tough teams they're playing. And the Braves are kicking that off. Chris Saez got his first start against the Rockies since 2019. And a reminder that the last time Chris Saez faced the Rockies in 2019, he struck out 17 batters in 7 innings, which is unbelievable. And the Braves lost, and Chris Saez lost that game, which is incredible to me, that the Rockies were able to win a game in which they struck out 17 times in 7 innings. The Braves, or I should say the Rockies, did not win the game last night. They were shut out. Chris Saez got his 200th strikeout of the season. He's done that 8 times in his career. He is 35 years old. Credit to Chris Saez for being a stud. Rockies got shut out again. This is an interesting stat. I saw this on Twitter last night. The Rockies have shut out their opponents only once this season, which is the fewest in Major League Baseball. But they have been shut out 14 times this season, which is the highest in Major League Baseball. That's a disparity that needs to be closened up a little brought together. Kyle Freeland, 5 innings pitched, gave up 1 earned run, 1 unearned run, 79 pitches. He was gritty. He was grinding out a game for the Rockies, and his blister did come back. It's concerning to me, and I've talked about it before because Kyle Freeland, I was a pitcher that struggled with a blister. They talked about it on the broadcast. It's an injury that seems so minor to the non-pitcher out there. Even the pitchers that never had to deal with injuries, it's like, you got a blister. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean you're coming out of games? But it's just so much more troublesome than that, and it can come back day after day if you don't let it rest. So unfortunate for Kyle Freeland. I mean, granted, he pitched a hell of a game, but it looks like that blister probably isn't going away this season. So it's going to be something he's either going to have to pitch with, or that we're going to have to just figure out as the year progresses. But hey, in a moment, I want to talk about some of the big moments from August, because August was a huge month for the Rockies. But before we get into that, got to give a shout out to our friends over at UC Health, because this season, football season's right around the corner. We know whether you love him or you hate him, Coach Prime is in the spotlight right now. And Coach Prime wants you and other Coloradans to be living your healthiest lives. And Coach Prime has taken on this new role with UC Health as the Chief Motivation Officer for the Ready, Set, Co. That's spelled C-O, Ready, Set, Co. Challenge. The goal is to get Colorado back to their healthiest state in the country, and that's the rightful place that we should be, because I'm super competitive, and I don't know why we're not the healthiest state in the country. So get out there, start making some minor adjustments: nutrition, exercise, sleep, mindfulness. I was telling Kale this morning, I had a very healthy morning, I should say. I got up at 4:30 in the morning. I went to the gym. Got back from the gym, 5:30-ish, maybe 6 o'clock, took the dogs about 15 minutes down the road to the foothills, took the dogs on a little hour-long hike, and came back, scrambled up some eggs with some green chili and some diced potatoes. That was my breakfast, and now I feel like I'm ready to take a nap. But at the same time, I feel good because I got the healthy parts of my day done, and now I set myself up for success for the rest of the day, and I feel really good. And that's what this whole Ready, Set, Co. mindset and initiative is all about, is just making those minor adjustments to make those steps, make those changes, to just live your healthiest life. And it's a statewide initiative. It's there to help all Coloradans. It's all about making those little changes. And really, it's just about making the decision to live today better than you lived yesterday from a health standpoint. So if you want to join in on this UC Health's Ready, Set, Co. challenge, click the link in the show notes of this podcast or go to uchealth.org/Ready, Set, Co., spelled C-O. Also got to give a shout out to our friends over at Toyota, because Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR and the Rockies as well. And as we're getting close to fall, Kale, it feels like, the weather's starting to, there's a chill in the air. We're supposed to have our first fall feeling day tomorrow. It's going to be like in the 60s.
Oh, I can't wait to crack out the flannels, Christian.
Yes.
Can't wait.
And you know what looks amazing when you're wearing a flannel? You've got the backwards corduroy hat on, you've got the flannel, you've got the nice, rolled up jeans, you've got your pups in the back. You know what's the best vehicle to go with that vibe is a Toyota. Off-roading Toyotas, Toyota trucks. You got the SUVs, you've got the Highlander, you've got the Tacoma, the 4Runner. They've got everything you need for the winter seasons. And it's going to catch up to us real quick, guys. I was up in the mountains this last Labor Day weekend, and it was cold. It was in the 30s. And so I know we're supposed to get our first little dandruff dusting of snow up in the mountains. That's coming. It's going to be here in Denver before we know it. So make sure you're prepared, and Toyota is the best place to go to get all of those off-roading four-wheel drive vehicles, SUVs, trucks, whatever you need. They've got you covered. So head over to Toyota. They've got a lot of different Toyota opportunities and places you can go to pick up your new Toyota and see why Toyota is just the most efficient vehicle out there on the market. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR and the Rockies. All right, let's recap the month of August. The month of August was pretty wild. We finished up with a little Orioles series. Jackson Holliday, Ethan Holliday, Matt Holliday, all in attendance here for the Rockies, and it was a cool experience to get to be there and to talk to Matt. And I want to mention something though, Kale, and I feel like I'm not normally this negative on the podcast, but today's going to be one of those days for me, man. It's a Wednesday. The Rockies just got eliminated from the playoffs. I'm going to go on another little rant here, if that's okay.
I love your rants. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. We had a really cool moment that was interrupted by the Baltimore Orioles PR team this weekend, or last weekend, I should say. And it made me very grateful for the PR team that we have for the Rockies. And let me explain here. So before the game on Friday, we got to talk to Matt Holliday in a little media scrum. And we were talking to Matt. It's all wholesome content. He's talking about his memories with the Rockies and his time at Coors Field and all good stuff, getting to see his son play. And so then after that, still a couple hours before the game, so we say, all right, me and like 15 other reporters are like, let's go talk to Jackson Holliday in the clubhouse for the Orioles. So we go to the visiting clubhouse. And again, me and like 15 other media members, national media, MLB.com, local, a bunch of people go in. And we all get in there. We all get our phones out and we start talking to Jackson at his locker. And it was like 15 minutes that we talked to Jackson. Again, all very positive things. Nothing but good memories, good baseball stuff. Like, it was great content. So we finish up talking to Jackson Holliday, and we all kind of turn around to go back out to the field. And the Baltimore Orioles PR person comes running over to us and says, "Hey guys, just a heads up, you can't use any of that." And we're like, "Why? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean we can't use any of that?
Why would we not be able to use what we just talked to?
And you didn't stop us before, so why are we not able to use any of this?" So she says, "Yeah, actually, we don't allow cell phones we don't allow cell phone video in the clubhouse, only TV cameras." Which, to me, seemed a little weird. So I asked some of the other media members, like, "Hey, I'm kind of new here. Is this normal? Like, do we do this? Do other teams do this?" And all the media were just as shocked as I was, and they were like, "No, this is the first time we've ever seen this." And Baltimore doesn't come to Coors Field very often, so this was the first time genuinely that we'd seen this. So my reaction is, what is this, 1965? Like, you're only allowing a TV camera to go get content? And she was like, "Yeah, no, you can't use any of that cell phone video. You can only use that to, like, grab quotes for, like, a print article. You can't actually use that." So I did some digging, and basically what that means to me, unless the Baltimore Orioles PR team wants to reach out to me personally and correct me on this, they own the rights to their local regional sports network. And so what that to me translates as, that's a team that's trying to protect the copyright of their content for their team. But what that means to me, one step further, is that's a big middle finger to your fan base and the National Baseball fan base. Because you're basically saying, unless you can turn on our little regional sports network and watch games for Baltimore Orioles local, you don't get access to any of that great content. And look, this is a time where we are 99% of your fan base is on social media. Not to say that those same fans don't still watch the TV channel, but you're getting news and content from social media, from the digital media world. So to limit your fan base, and any fan base, from a wholesome content that is Jackson Holliday and his dad and the relationship that they have growing through the Major League Baseball, because you want to protect the rights and the copyright of the content that you are putting out on your TV broadcast, is a freaking joke to me. And that is why Baltimore Orioles are a playoff contending team and can only fill 50% of their capacity every single day. When if the Rockies were in the same boat as a playoff contending team, we would be selling out Coors Field every freaking night. Why? Because the Rockies PR team is great, and they are open doors, open book. And I don't care if they are not a playoff contending team and you're sub 500, 100-loss season, or if you are one of the best teams in the NL West. The Rockies PR team says, have at it. These are the stories that we want to give the fans. So credit to the Rockies organization, because that was shocking to me. And you look back on the Orioles and you saw what happened last year with Kevin Brown, their broadcaster, who went on the broadcast and was critical. It was probably his producer, to be honest, who was critical when he was building the pregame and was critical of some stats that the Orioles had, and he was fired right after that. What a freaking joke. And it's not new information. It's new information to me because I got to see it firsthand. So anyways, that was my rant there, because I just have a hard time with management, ownership, front office organizations that aren't able to get with the times and say this is a shifting world of media that we live in right now, where we need to be able to give the fans the content. That's part of being a fan of baseball. That's part of being that's your responsibility as a team, is to give fans the access to the players in a healthy and respectable way. And I think that's very healthy and respectable. Cale, I know you are around other teams. You're around the Nuggets. You're around the Broncos as a producer. You've been in some of those locker rooms. I would imagine they do it the same way. I mean, we've seen all of that from our DNVR Broncos teams.
Yeah,
they allow cell phones. Videos.
The Broncos, it depends on the situation. It's a little different because there are certain, like, Like, I know that, like, some TV stations in town have specifically paid for access. So there's, like, there are some rules and regulations. I've never heard that from an MLB clubhouse, though. And I've been in, I don't know, a half dozen, and I've never heard anything like that.
Well, Andrew Mason, I talked to him in the press box, and he does a lot of Broncos stuff. And he said in the clubhouse, unless there's a specific interview that 9 News has paid for or whatever, in the clubhouse, there are 2 rows when you're talking to players. The first row is cell phones, people with cell phones, like the Zach Stevens, Hanks, all like our guys. Second row is TV cameras, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, usually.
And so, again, I understand that there needs to, we were talking about this before the show, there needs to be rules. You can't just be running around a clubhouse with your cell phone, just taking pictures and videos of whatever. But that, like saying there's no videos allowed in a clubhouse, felt so soft to me.
I've never heard of a hard and fast rule like that.
Especially in baseball.
Yeah, especially in baseball. That's wild.
Anyways, that probably went too long, but whatever. Hey, this is an interesting stuff. The Rockies, no surprise here, have been rolling out the red carpet for their young guys. In the month of August, they've 14 rookies have appeared in a game. Oh my God,
that's a lot of young dudes.
In the month of August, man, that's tied for the most in franchise history. The Rockies are setting records with their young guys. 11. There have been 11 debuts from Rockies this season.
11 of them. Challenge for you. Do you think you could name all 11 off the top of your head?
11 debuts.
11's a lot of dudes.
All right, let's try this. Seth Halverson, Luis Peralta, Anthony Molina, Aaron Schunk, Drew Romo, Tanner Gordon, Angel Chivigi, Jordan Beck. I always get to these last 2. Greg Jones, Adael Amador. I got one more.
I think.
I
think that's all of them.
Okay, that was 10. Did I miss one?
Was that 10? Oh, I'm also terrible at counting.
Maybe I got 11. I think that was it. All right. I'm looking at the notes, and I promise I didn't look. I think that might have been it. Oh, Jeff Criswell.
Oh, okay.
Jeff Criswell.
Okay.
Our guy Criswell from yesterday. That's tough. The Rockies have a lot of young guys.
A lot of young dudes. I couldn't have done that. That was pretty impressive.
Okay.
I've watched all these. I couldn't have named those.
Well, that's the thing is, and those go back to June. Some of those guys go back to June. We saw Jordan Beck, Anthony Molina. Like those are, Anthony Molina made his debut back then. Greg Jones, Angel Chivigi. But that's there's a lot of new guys on this team, and again, setting a franchise record for most rookies appearing in a game in the month of August, or tying a franchise record for most rookies appearing in a game, and they're probably not done yet. We're going to talk about a guy who has been just lighting it up out there in the minors. Chase Dolander, he's got some impressive numbers, and I want to get to that here in just a moment. But first, we've got to talk about one of our favorite sponsors, ZBiotics. Because ZBiotics is really just the best way for you to set yourself up for the rest of your day, for the rest of your night, for the rest of your week. And what I mean by that is that ZBiotics really kind of helps you to bounce back a lot quicker when you decide to go out and hang out with some friends. We talk about health, and we talk about, kind of getting yourself, taking those steps and making those little adjustments to become your healthiest version of yourself. Well, part of that is being able to go out and have fun with friends. We all need a night out with friends. It was Labor Day weekend. It's football season. We're going to be going out to hopefully the DNVR bar and watching some CU Buffs, CSU. We're going to have the Broncos coming up here. It's going to be a great time to go and have a good time, right? And so when you do that, though, you've got to start off by getting some ZBiotics pre-alcohol in your system, because it just helps your recovery time get a little quicker that next day. And basically how it works is it's the world's first genetically engineered prebiotic. It's invented by PhD scientists to tackle the rough mornings after drinking. And when you drink alcohol, all of that stuff kind of gets mixed into your gut in this toxic byproduct. That byproduct is what makes you feel kind of gross the next day. But ZBiotics pre-alcohol produces this enzyme to help break down the byproduct a little quicker. And it just helps you to recover faster. So remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best the next day. So right now, head over to zbiotics.com/DNVR Rockies to get 15% off your first order. They are backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll give you your money back. No questions asked. Remember that zbiotics.com/DNVR Rockies to get 15% off your first order. Thank you for ZBiotics for sponsoring this episode and for sponsoring our good times. Speaking of good times, Bet365's got you covered for all of your sports betting needs, because at Bet365, they do not do ordinary. They believe that every sport should be epic, and right now, new customers can choose between two offers. When you open an account, you get Bet365 using the code DNVR365. You sign up, deposit $10. You choose between either a bet and get offer or a first bet safety net offer. But look, I want to talk about some of the boosts that you got with Bet365, because every day Bet365 powers up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win over 10,000 boosts every month. They boost specific markets, teams, players, whatever your winnings, and even parlays. Keep an eye out for our custom DNVR bets and boosts. Download the Bet365 app. Use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Check out boosts and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem or wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's talk state of the farm here for a moment, because Chase Dollander was named Rockies Organizational Pitcher of the Month. Have a month of August, Chase Dollander. He is probably one of the next pitchers we will see in the big leagues, hopefully by the end of the year. If not, it'll be early next year, but hopefully by the end of the year. He's still in AA in Hartford right now, but in the month of August, he went 2-0. He had a .92 ERA with 29.1 innings pitched, 3 earned runs over those 29 innings pitched. He had 41 strikeouts. 41 strikeouts. Let that sink in for a moment. He held opposing hitters to 163 batting average. Chase Dollander, I posted a video. You'll have to go on the DNVR Rockies Twitter. I actually posted it on my own Twitter, but retweeted it on the DNVR Rockies Twitter. There was this video that the Spokane Indians posted of him striking a guy out in the pouring rain. It's pretty badass. And I slowed it down, put some music over it, put a couple LUTs over it, had to make it look like a Moneyball sequence. It was pretty beautiful. Hopefully we get to see that beauty coming up to the big leagues here soon. Can I also go back? During the Orioles series, we didn't have any shows. He struck out 7 guys in a row in one outing. 7 guys in a row. Not a single in 2 1/3. Well, yeah, 2 1/3 innings. Not a single guy did anything but strike out. So Chase Dollander, hopefully we will see him in a Rockies uniform in the coming months, if not, in the coming years. Let's talk a little reaction here. I don't know if you guys saw, but Whit Merrifield had a scary moment yesterday when he got hit in the head on a fastball that kind of ran away from Jeff Criswell. And he had a reaction after the game. He ended up having to come out of the game. And this isn't the first time the Braves have seen this happen this season. Austin Riley got hit in the hand, has a, I believe, season-ending hand injury. But after the game, Whit Merrifield kind of went off on the state of Major League Baseball and the state of pitching in the big leagues right now. And I want you to hear this. I sent Kale a clip of this. I want you to hear his words, and I want you guys to think: is this worth the reaction that we got out of him? Do you think he's right? Do you agree with him? What are your thoughts on this? Let's play the clip. Oh, why did it just do that? Technology, it's waking up here. There we go.
Sorry, everybody.
Whit Merrifield, everyone.
It's ridiculous. The way where the game's at right now, it's just ridiculous. We lost Riley. We almost lost Mike. We almost lost Darno in a span of 2 or 3 weeks. The way pitchers are throwing now, there's no remorse or the regard for throwing up and in. You guys are throwing as hard as they can, and they don't care where the ball goes. And they can't. You can't hit a guy anymore back. There's no fear that, if I hit this guy, our guy's going to get hit. That's not in the game anymore. Pitchers don't have to hit anymore, so they don't have to stand in the box. And the teams are bringing pitchers up They don't know where the ball's going. They throw 100 miles an hour, so we're like, all right, we'll see if we can get the guys out. Just set up down the middle and throw it as hard as you can. And it's driving me nuts, and I hate where the game's at right now with that. And I'm on the rules committee, and we got a call tomorrow, and it's going to be a long conversation on what we got to do to make pitchers think about. I just took 95 right off the head. I'm very lucky that it got me in a good spot, and I got to go get a CAT scan. I'm out of the game. He gets to stay in the pitch. I'm probably not going to be able to play tomorrow. No repercussion on his part. And, I mean, without being overdramatic, that was my life on the line right there. So, I'm sick of it. It's happening way too much. I watched Taylor Ward get hit in the face last year, have to get reconstructive surgery. Justin Turner got hit in the face last year. It's happening at an exponential rate. Guys are getting hit in the hand. Mookie Betts broke a bone in his hand this year. It's just ridiculous, and it has to be adjusted. It has to be fixed, or God forbid, something terrible is going to happen. If this hits me in a different spot, it's just pathetic. It's frankly pathetic that some of the pitchers that we're running out there that don't know where the ball's going at the major league level.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. Look, I get it. I mean, I don't, but I hear where he's coming from. I cannot relate to standing in there every single day for decades against guys throwing 95 to 100 miles an hour and having to get a ball thrown off the back of your head. At the same time, my pushback on that is the pitching aspect of it is part of the game. I can understand if he is advocating for this is the way the game is going. Guys are throwing harder. Some of them don't have the command. So we need to work on getting better helmets, better protective gear so that guys aren't injured. That I understand completely, and I think that's a fair assessment. But to blame it on the pitching and to say that the state of Major League Baseball and the pitching in Major League Baseball is to blame, and that guys are getting thrown up there in the big leagues before they have any reason or rhyme to be up there, and they don't deserve to be pitching on the mound at that level, and they can't just throw 100 miles an hour and have no idea where the ball's going. That's baseball. That's been happening for 100 years. And yes, maybe guys are throwing harder now, but that hasn't changed. And unfortunately, in his case, that's not going to change. My question would be like, what are we going to tell guys to stop throwing 100 miles an hour? I know he's not saying that. But to put the blame on the pitchers and say that the pitching side of it needs to be addressed, what's the legislation that you want to get passed there? That if a pitcher accidentally hits a batter in the head, they have to then come out of the game? Like you're gonna take out, I don't know, one of the best closers in baseball in the middle of a close game because they just let one pitch get away from them. You're going to take out a starter in the second inning because, again, a pitch just kind of slipped out of his hand. That doesn't make sense to me. And I understand the frustration for him because he just got hit, first of all. And, the Braves have been plagued by injuries all season long, including guys being hit by pitches. But I think it's taking away from his point to look at it from a pitching standpoint. And I think if he's really focused on that and protecting players, then this should be a transition into talking about how do we better protect the players. Because Major League Baseball isn't going to stop pitchers from throwing 100 miles an hour. And they're not, as Burge said, they're not going to take away the ability for pitchers to throw inside. What are we doing? What are we talking about? So I just don't agree with his intention of where his statements were headed with that. And to blame a guy like Jeff Criswell, which is he had some words for Criswell after he got hit. To blame a guy like Jeff Criswell, who has every right to be on a major league mound, kind of made me a little ticked off. Because I'm like, okay, look, like, think back to, for Whit Merrifield's case, think back to when you were making your third freaking appearance on a major league field. You weren't a pitcher. But like, stuff happens. You make a play that isn't the way you wanted it to go. That's the same thing as a pitcher making a pitch in the way that they didn't want it to go. Criswell wasn't trying to hit him. So if you're going to address something at a player safety meeting, address the player safety element of it. Don't address a fundamental part of the game of baseball. So I just thought that was a little bit drastic. Can I also add, too, that strikeouts have been up across Major League Baseball for years now, year to year. Strikeouts have been significantly up across Major League Baseball. So that means pitchers are really freaking good. Pitchers are getting better, and hitters are not being able to catch up and keep up with that. And guys are going to get hit. That's part of the game. I mean, think of hockey. Think of the crap that goes on to those players' bodies in hockey. And every once in a while, a freak accident happens, like what we saw last year in the, independent hockey league or whatever it was, where that guy died. And there's obviously that's horrific. Damar Hamlin died on a football field a year ago. Those are horrific examples. And we should do everything in our power, and the player safety committees should do everything in their power to protect players from those things happening. But if you simply say, well, hockey players, because a skate was what, caused the death of that hockey player, hockey players are no longer allowed to skate. Well, that doesn't, then it's no longer hockey. We need to adjust how we're protecting players physically. So I understand where his frustrations are. I just think his direction of where he was headed with those frustrations was in the wrong place. And it sucks, man. Look, the Braves have had a hard go at it this year because of all their injuries. But that's the game sometimes, You get plunked in the back, you shake it off, you take a fastball off the hands, you might have to go get surgery. Like, that is the game, and it sucks. And so how do you find ways, to wear more arm protection or leg protection, knee protection, head protection, all of those things to protect your guys? All right, let's move on. Want to give a shout out to Michael Toglia here, because Michael Toglia, although he hasn't really had the success in the hitting category that he's been wanting, his walks have been really, really skyrocketing recently. And so I just wanted to throw a little side note in there for Toglia, because I think his walks, he's becoming a disciplined hitter at the plate. And I had asked Bud Black before a game in that Orioles series, is Michael Toglia ever going to be a guy who hits for average? And Bud Black straight up said no. Maybe there's going to be years where his average is better than most, but Toglia's his swing just isn't adhesive to a guy who can hit for average. So if you can pair the power side of things for Michael Toglia with the ability to have plate discipline, that to me is a best case scenario. I also tweeted last night, Toglia is going to be a future Gold Glover. Seemed like that got some pretty good reactions. I think we saw some plays from him last night that show that when he has enough, run time in the bigs, he will be a future Gold Glover for the Rockies. So I continue to shout praises for Michael Toglia from the rooftops and just say, good on Michael Toglia, Go back to that whole rant that we heard from that Mark from Maple Valley and that call-in talking about how, you got to get a guy, a first baseman who can hit 40 home runs. Michael Toglia might be that guy for the Rockies, 40 home runs and a Gold Glove at first base would be a pretty stellar combo, given the history that the Rockies have had at first base. So got some ways to go before we get to that. But hey, before we go any further, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Chinook Seedery. Chinook Seedery, they've got the premier sunflower seeds on the market. They are the best seeds ever. You see it on your screen there. And it really is not an exaggeration. They are my personal favorite seeds. I carry them with me when I go to games. I get to go. I have the blessing of being out on the field before the games, talking to players and coaches. And I bring my Chinook seeds with me because they are top of the line. They don't leave a bad taste in your mouth. They don't leave that kind of like sandpaper tongue texture. There's no salt burn. You can eat the seeds all day long. And they've got some incredible flavors. I try to mix up the flavors each day. Some days I go with the cinnamon toast because I'm just feeling a little sweet. Some days I go with the lemon pepper. My personal favorite is the hatch green chili flavor, but they've got 8 killer flavors that you can roll through. So get a sampler pack, try all 8 of those flavors. They are the largest seeds on the market. Head over to ChinookSeedery.com using code Rockies for 20% off your order. They are the best seeds ever. Well, hey, earlier we were talking about mental health, physical health, but I want to talk about financial health right now, because if you're like me, you like to make sure you're on top of things financially, and there's no better way to do that than to get involved with Premier Members Credit Union. They are really one of the top-notch financial institutions here in Colorado that just help you manage your finances in a really efficient and effective way. Their relationship building is great. Their efficiency in how you can kind of get in and out without a lot of lines. They're really a family-oriented financial management organization. And PMCU is all about creating a better banking experience for their community. They've got friendly tellers. They've got tools to help you save smarter, like a reverse tier money market. They've just got everything you need if you're trying to get ahead with your money. So why not see what they can do for you? Check out becomepremier.com to learn more. And yeah, Premier Member Credit Union. We love having them in our corner at DNVR. Hey, I have an interesting thing I want to bring up to you guys, because I put this on Twitter, so some of you might have already seen this, but I wanted to throw this out there. And actually, Kale, I wanted to get your opinion on this as well. I put a graphic up on DNVR Rockies Twitter. This is the graphic right here. And I said, if you're going on the road, the Rockies are going to be on the road for 11 days, and if you're on the team plane, what seat would you rather be what seat would you want to sit in if you had to choose one of those seats? I personally, I'll go with what I said. I'll give Kale a second to think about this. Personally, I said, as the broadcaster in me, I'd go 2C. And I think I ended up saying 3E is hard to pass up. But 2C, in looking back, I got to sit by Spilly and Drew Goodman. They've got some memories between the two of them in the Rockies organization. But that's just the broadcasting side of me. So Kale, where are you going?
I think this is the easiest answer. Like, I actually think you laid out this graphic wrong because of how easy the answer is. The answer is obviously 5E.
Okay, I was surprised. I thought you were going to go 3E.
Are you kidding me?
5E is a good one.
Larry Walker in cargo? That's the most fun you're going to have ever in your life.
See,
by far.
3E, I saw why people were saying 3E, and this is no offense to Todd Helton, but I agree with you. I think 5E is more fun.
That's the best hang you can possibly create.
Like, if I'm sitting at 3E, I maybe ask a couple questions to Todd Helton, but I'm talking to Peyton Manning the entire time. 5E is like you're getting some good content from both sides.
Number one, 5E, you're drunk 10 minutes into that flight with the three of us together. And that's just we're talking about the guy that wore a SpongeBob shirt when he got into the Hall of Fame, and Cargo is known as the best vibes guy in the history of the Rockies.
Yeah. He's the Ken Griffey Jr. of the Colorado Rockies.
That's the pick. That's got to be the pick.
I feel like 5C is probably slept on a little bit too. Rymack and Tolia, they're both good hangs. They're a good hang. Yeah, they're fun to hang out with. Jordan Beck and Nolan Jones at 2D, another very chill, young, just chill vibes type of guys to hang out with. Is there a seat that you wouldn't want to sit in? Aside from the obvious 4D, not wanting to get stuck by Dinger for
that's definitely not going to happen.
Or are these all just good vibes?
Every other is fine. 2C for me would be tough because I feel like I couldn't get a word in because, you're with two broadcasters. I feel like they're just going to talk the whole time.
Fair.
But, the stories would be great.
It would be great.
And I can never as you know, I'm a Bud Black. I could never turn down a conversation with Buddy.
I'm with you on that, man. And also Warren Schaefer, that's a younger picture of Schaefer. Schaefer, I would ask him about his workout routine, and we could talk for 4 hours probably about that. Schaefer is jacked. And to sit next to him and Bud Black, I would argue that's probably pretty slept on too. People have their mixed opinions about Bud Black, but the dude is a chill guy to talk to.
Super chill guy, and has been in baseball twice as long as I've been alive. Like
we are a
stories
pro
he
Bud
has-
Black show here.
Yeah, we really are.
Yeah.
We really are.
Like I have no issue with him as a manager. I mean, we can be critical to certain, I don't know, very technical aspects, but really that's all. Like we're nitpicking. Like I think he's a fine manager, and especially to be sitting on a plane with him, he'd be cool. Drew Romo and our guy Elias Diaz. I had someone comment and say, I'd want to sit next to Diaz to ask him why he was on the plane. Look, maybe he misses us. Maybe he just couldn't get enough of the Rockies and is like, I'm not really liking being the backup for the Padres.
It's a fun Twitter game. Don't take it that serious.
Come on, guys. Loosen up a little bit. Diaz would be fun to sit next to, too. I think he's one of those guys that could have a lot of energy. Doyle and Tovar in the 4B section, surprisingly, would be a very serious, somber.
Yes, would be.
They're
a somber
very serious
ride.
dudes.
They're very serious dudes, but also
cool guys, but
thinnest hips of the bunch. You get the most room in the middle seat there.
You would be the one to go with the leg space.
Yeah, all about leg space. 1F slept on. I feel like it's going to be nobody's first choice, but that would be a good time.
Sam Hilliard, I felt bad that I couldn't put Jake Cave on this because Jake Cave is probably one of the most fun, if not the most fun clubhouse guy on the Rockies right now. Sam Hilliard is a very close second. Aside from the baseball side of things for Cave and Hilliard, those two are two of the most fun guys in the entire clubhouse. Like Jake Cave and Sam Hilliard, and I know, again, Cave's not up there, but Sam Hilliard is a blast to talk to. He is a walking soundbite, which I love as the guy who's in there trying to get sound bites from. But, Sam Hilliard and Jake Cave are going to be the two guys that I'm bummed to not have on the Rockies, not from a playing standpoint, but just from not seeing them in the clubhouse anymore.
Yeah.
They're just fun personalities. I mean, Jake Cave is the man of the people.
Good hang. Jake Cave, always on Ox as well. Good.
Always on
Ox. Always playing music.
And he's also probably the most put together, this is gonna come off kind of weird. He's the most attractive looking, gray-haired just dude in the clubhouse. He looks like he's 40 and he's still somehow looks like he could show up to a blind dating, seminar and just pick up any single person there. He's a very put together guy.
He's got great hair. That helps.
Great hair, the gray. It's he's got the bright blue eyes. The dude is kind of a stud. I appreciate it. We respect that here. So we're Jake Cave fans on the show. Hey, before we wrap things up here, I wanted to expand beyond the Rockies here. We always finish up the show by kind of going around Major League Baseball, and I wanted to share something. There was I think it was on Talking Baseball or something like that. It's one of the other podcasts. Miguel Rojas with the Dodgers made an interesting comment saying that he thinks the Dodgers are going to be better suited in the playoffs since they have probably the most competitive division in baseball that they're playing in the NL West. And he was saying that because he's saying we have games that we're playing in August and September against division rivals like, the Padres and just very good teams, even teams like the Giants, who are no slouch. And we're having to play these super intense games in August and September that, a lot of other teams aren't having to play that high level of games. I mean, you got the Diamondbacks, the Padres, two of the best teams in baseball. And he was saying that that's going to make them better for the postseason. I actually disagree with that. And I don't know what you guys think. I mean, let me know if you're still hanging with us in the Toyota chat. Let me know what you think. I feel like that actually gasses you because the Dodgers have a lot of injuries. They are a team that's kind of just trying to, they're trying to hold on in that NL West to win the division. They will, let's be real. But they do have two of the hottest teams in baseball in their division. If I'm the Dodgers, I don't necessarily want to just be playing slouches. I'm not trying to have the easiest schedule in the world, but I also don't necessarily want the hardest schedule in the world. I don't want my pitchers to have to go 8 innings, my starters to have to go. I don't want to have to throw Kershaw 7-8 innings against the Diamondbacks in a must-win game because I want to be able to have that longevity in the postseason. I think the Dodgers' biggest threat to winning a World Series is health and longevity. And so when you're playing playoff baseball in September for the Dodgers, I feel like that kind of takes away from that. So yeah, sure, maybe it gets you in that competitive mindset a little earlier, but I think right now the Dodgers need rest and recovery if they're trying to make a World Series run. And the Diamondbacks and the Padres are just haymakering themselves to death right now in the NL West. The Giants are just trying to barely hit 500, and the Rockies are the Rockies. But I actually felt like that seemed a little bit more challenging to me than it would be a positive note. But, hey, they're spinning it in a positive way. I mean, it's the schedule they've got. It's the division they've got. So you've got to spin it in a positive way. I just thought that was a little interesting. But, hey, look, the Rockies, they're going to be playing the Braves again tonight. Another tough matchup. The Rockies continue to have the potential to play spoilers. The Braves are in that third wild card spot, so these are must-win games for the Braves in a division that they're kind of fighting for it. The Mets won a game, I believe, last night. I think they walked off their game last night. It's September baseball, baby. We're loving it, and we're loving getting to bring you guys all that baseball. So stay with us on the DNVR Rockies Twitter. You can find us on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies. You can find me on Twitter at CJJ Saez. You just follow our entire team because we're in sports mode right now. You got the Broncos coming back, CU's coming back. We want to share some information. We do have some big watch parties coming up. Kale, are we doing watch parties for the Buffs and the Rams this week? That is this week, right? The Buffs are playing the Buffs play Nebraska this week.
Buffs play Nebraska on Saturday. I'm sure we're number one. There's the event that we're going to Nebraska, but I think those tickets are all sold out. So come watch at the bar with us if you're not going to Nebraska.
I will be there, and I'm not a Buffs fan. I'm not I don't have skin in the game, but I love watching good football, and I also am on board to see what the hell is going to happen with Coach Prime and this CU team. I'm in it for the entertainment, man. And I think most of us out there are. Like, it's just it's fun to watch this type of football right now. So football's coming up. We got hockey kind of around the corner. Basketball, still a little bit out, but basketball's catching up eventually. And yeah, it's just a good time to be a sports fan in Denver. So we always love hanging with you guys. Drop us a follow on Twitter. Give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, and also subscribe to our podcast on wherever you get your podcasts. But yeah, that's going to do it from us here, from our entire team at the DNVR crew. I'm Christian Saez, super producer Kale. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. This has been the DNVR Rockies Podcast, brought to you by Bet365. We will see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
We all silly like the mayor.